Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Elizabeth Bruno and I am in the happy company of one of the best casters, StarCraft 2 casters in the world. That's right, it's Sean Day9 Plott. And hello Sean.
Hello, hello.
So welcome to this interview. Let's get straight on with it and ask some questions, shall we?
I'm ready.
Alright, so tell us a bit about yourself for the people who might not know you. You're a caster and a StarCraft 2 player.
Yeah, so I'm a StarCraft 2 caster. So for any of you unfamiliar with the StarCraft 2 community, it is like the greatest game in the whole world. It's a nice blend of huge in-depth strategy like a game of chess, but also has the fast-paced speed of something like playing a musical instrument or just, a traditional sport. So what I do for a living is provide the commentary for the games in a couple of different ways. I travel around to big tournaments and I'll do the play-by-play, which is great for me because I'm also a huge fan of the game, so I get to watch like the really good players play and I get to freak out and shriek like a little girl when awesome things happen. But then I also do a 5-day-a-week web TV show that is all about strategy and analysis because my past in StarCraft has been as a player. I played the StarCraft 1 competitively for about 12 years. So when StarCraft 2 came out, I was just running a little bit low on time in graduate school. So I started to just do a show that was focused on analysis to give me that fix that I wanted as a player of studying strategies and trying to learn. And that just sort of spun into all the tournament casting. So the analysis show, I would really say, is the flagship Day9 thing.
Right. So why the name Day9? Why did you choose that? How did that come about?
Oh, get ready for the most uninteresting history. All right, but you know what? I have an answer. So long ago, way back when I was but a wee lad, I used to really look up to all the top Korean pro players because South Korea is where the first professional scene developed, and you had these incredible players who had these cool one-word names like Reach and Boxer, and I wanted something cool like that, so I was Day. But there was no Day was taken on the servers because every 3-letter word was taken. So I wanted to put my favorite number at the end, which was 9, and then I also added in my favorite delimiter, which is the brackets. So thus became Day bracket 9 end bracket, and there you go.
So we got a Day9 out of that.
And it's a little catchy too. That's one thing I like about it, like Day9.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it just stuck.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I just said it just stuck. No, I just said a trailing phrase that's only purpose was to interrupt. My apologies.
Yeah, I don't know these casters. Anyways, so tell us, how did you get into casting, and why did you choose to go down this route?
Well, yeah, I touched a little bit on that. That I was in college. I went to Harvey Mudd, which was an awesome experience, and it was a lot of work, but I still had enough time to play StarCraft that I would. It wasn't necessarily like regular, but there would be periods where I'm like, oh, a bunch of projects finished. We're going to play it hardcore for 3 weeks. Yeah. And when I went to graduate school, I was having this collision of time problem because, in my undergraduate program, I did a math degree. So a lot of it was, okay, I'm going to do this problem set.
Right? 3 halves.
What'd you say?
3 halves math degree, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You saw yesterday's daily. I will say, I will always mess up basic mathematics if there's a video recording at home. Oh, you should see me in my private quiet time when I'm just multiplying stuff in my free spare time. Oh, I'm incredible. But no, I'm called. So, I mean, the math program was a lot like just here's the problem set and you're going to do that. And, there was independent research I did. But when I went to my graduate program, it was in interactive media, or basically game design. And I started just doing a lot of projects on my own. And the projects kind of had the format of you get to work on them as much as you want to work on them. It was a
Right.
lot of freedom and flexibility. So I ended up starting to dive into a lot of projects because I was excited about jumping into the new program, which immediately cut down on a lot of my StarCraft playing time. And so I had this weird situation where I both wanted to watch the Korean pro matches because that was like my primary form of just entertainment, just like someone would want to watch their favorite sport. And also I had this desire as a player to delve deep and to dig into strategy because that was always one of my favorite feelings when I had some huge problem, some huge leak in my play, and I would think, how the hell do you solve that? How can I overcome this problem I'm having? And you think and think and think and think and think. I had those two urges. So what I decided would be good would be to just do a daily web show where I would take one of those pro matches I wanted to watch anyways, but I would analyze it really slowly. And the act of talking is a very slow, deliberate just way to communicate. So it kind of forced my brain to slow down and really explore things in depth. And very quickly, I found it to be incredibly fun to log in, to start talking about all this fun, high-level strategy that a lot of people had not gotten really the chance to hear about or to look into because all the commentary is in Korean for the pro matches. And I would have the opportunity to interact with all these other people who were also really, really into the game. Because, to be honest, a lot of my friends who were into StarCraft got that way because I basically grabbed them, sat them down, and was like, this game is awesome, you got to watch this. And then they got into it over time, and it was cool to get the chance to interact with all the people from, like, for instance, the Team Liquid community who were really, really into StarCraft as well.
Yeah. So you didn't do any studies to become a caster. It just comes up natural to you. You just
Well, it's kind of funny because you'd love to say something like, "Oh, yes, day 9. Oh, it was my natural talent." Yeah, but as a matter of fact, it was the fact that I started doing the daily show every single day, and I would just stumble through it, and a lot of times it was definitely just work that was put into it, and I definitely would credit Harvey Mudd for a lot of that because in my math degree, they had lots of regular presentations that you had to do. That was one of the most important parts of the program, that they would just say things like, okay, Sean, you're going to do a presentation on this weird math topic that you don't actually know very much about, and it has to be 5 minutes, and we will cut you off at 5 minutes. So you must absolutely make sure that you can convey this to this group of students and teachers that have never heard of the topic before in a reasonable, legible fashion. It was a great training grounds because math is just so abstract in a lot of areas that it's very, very weird. And you have to be able to boil it down into something tractable.
So what it is about casting that makes your heart beat? Trumpets?
It's definitely the trumpets is one important aspect of it. The gameplay itself is what's really, really exciting to me about it. And I always think that it's an important duty of the caster to be able to convey the excitement of the match to the players. And I think that my background as a player is the thing that is most exciting for me about it, because a lot of times you'll be watching a match, and if you're unfamiliar with the game, you're just like, okay, well, they're building stuff, they're building stuff, they're building stuff. All right, one of them attacked, and I guess he won, and it sort of feels dry. But if there's a caster there who can say something like, uh-oh, he has not started this upgrade yet, and that will take 2.5 minutes to do, which means that now there's a 2.5-minute window where this player can attack to do a huge amount of damage. Oh my gosh, okay, he hasn't moved out yet. Oh, he's starting to move out. He's starting to move out. There's 30 more seconds until that upgrade finishes. Can he hit it? And all of a sudden there's this intensity to it. Kind of like in a movie where the bomb timer is ticking down. You're just, can he defuse it in time? And sometimes this can be a curse, though, because sometimes I get a little too excited. Like I remember in a recent tournament, one of my friends was doing very, very well, and I started getting overly excited because there was a little too much adrenaline in the system, and I was just screaming. I was like, oh my god, he might win! So that was a bit of fun.
And then you throw in pipe leaks every so often, and that's also funny. But so, is there a game that you casted that you cast, oh, poor Italian, that remain imprinted in your mind for any particular reason?
I still remember Nama versus Mana Game 3 from the Winter DreamHack final in 2010. Both the players were kind of unlikely to be in the finals. They're both very, very talented players, but a lot of people expected some of the more notable Korean players or notable Americans to be in there. And then there they were in the finals, and Nama had won the first two games, and it was Game 3. And I will say, in any tournament, your brain just immediately starts playing tricks on you. Immediately. And one of the big things that always happens to me in my tournament games is you get this overwhelming urge to just attack them and end the game. Your patience is really hard to actually hold on to in a serious tournament situation. And there was just this gigantic army of Nama that was slowly marching a little bit closer and closer and closer. And I just kept thinking, oh my gosh, he's not attacking yet, he's not attacking yet, he's not attacking yet. And I was so impressed with his ability to stay patient for so long. But he was almost too patient for my heart to handle, because there came a point where literally his buildings were getting shot at, and Mana was still waiting and still patiently gathering a few more forces and waiting for a couple more upgrades to finish. And he finally made the huge attack, and it barely didn't quite work. And I was like, oh gosh, but Mana still stayed patient and stayed patient and stayed patient, and Nama kept pushing harder and harder, and it was this incredibly dramatic game. And every time Mana made a huge blunder where you'd immediately think the follow-up would be for him to go on tilt and immediately try to win, never once did, and held on and won this game by inches. And I remember just screaming, just being like, he did it! Oh my God, he's done it! And I actually started to get lightheaded, and I almost passed out, because I'd been casting for like 16 hours a day for a couple days in a row, and the match was just so intense, and the energy of the crowd was just so huge, and I'd had so much adrenaline in my system that I still distinctly remember my vision like starting to like wane a little bit. I like turned to my co-caster. I was like, Diapollo, you gotta finish this one, man. I'm lightheaded. So that's the one that always stands out in my eyes.
So, talking of patience, I seem to recall a particular game that left you with your jaw hanging at MLG. It was MLG Columbus. Do you want some hints?
Well, it could, I would believe, be the Idra versus MC game. Is that the one?
How did you guess that one?
I still remember that video. That was fun.
Yeah, well, it's a lot to do with these GGs. What do you think about these early GGs? I mean, everyone talks about that, and
I mean, a lot of people will love to just jump on Idra and bash him immediately, because, he is known for having that sort of bad boy attitude, so people will always love the drama and that sort of thing. But Idra has learned the most important lesson to learn in StarCraft, or actually in any strategy game, in my opinion, that's actually so hard for a newer player to learn, which is that whenever you lose a game, you have to go back to the first mistake and look at the first mistake and fix that.
Yeah.
And it's so easy.
Go on.
I mean, it's really easy to be playing a game, and then at the 10-minute mark, you make the game-breaking mistake. But because you're good, you can hold on till the maybe 30-minute mark. And then when you lose, it's so easy to go back and say, oh, yeah, from minutes 22 to 28, I should have been doing this stuff. And the answer is, don't waste your time analyzing there. Go back to minute 10 and fix that, and then you'll never be in any of these weird situations ever again. And Idra, I think, is bar none in terms of this, going back to the first mistake and weeding it out. I mean, it's kind of funny because a lot of people love to talk about Idra's mechanics, his ability to build lots of units rapidly, his ability to make lots of great micro decisions with his units, but I honestly think that his best skill is his ability to look at a strategy and to pop out all these little leaks at the start. So when you watch his play, it's just this symphonic, beautiful play. Everything lines up perfectly and falls into place. But I think that pretty much anyone can get flustered at a major tournament.
Yeah.
And I feel like for someone like Greg, who just really does not make a lot of mistakes at the start of the game, there were a couple of mistakes that happened in that game that I definitely think could have made him feel a touch flustered. You know, like there was a drop that snuck in that, even though it didn't do as much damage as it maybe should have, I feel like that it could potentially have been one of those jarring moments in your head. And then all of a sudden when the attack doesn't quite go the exact way, I mean, he was winning it, but I mean, it didn't quite go exactly as planned. And plus, he'd seen a third command center, so he probably was also assuming that there was a third command center that was out on the map. And then he ended up incorrectly leaving the game. So, I mean, I think that it sort of stems from the fact that he is such a good player, but it's one of those things where I would just say, stick in the game and then do that sort of analysis after the fact instead of, leaving mid-game. But it's like it's so easy to say that and then so hard to look back when you're in the tournament and all the adrenaline's flowing and there's that huge crowd looking at your every move, and every time you mess up in a big tournament, I know my instinct is, look, just screw it. I'm just going to leave and I'm just going to go back into the next game. I'm going to play better.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I remember you mentioning in one of your early dailies, like you mentioned, people asking you, how do you win against Colossi? I can't win against Colossi. And you saying, well, maybe you've done something wrong before that. Your opponent got the Colossi in the first place. Anyway, you mentioned earlier that you were casting for like 16 hours. Do you always cast that long in all these tournaments like MLG and ASL?
In a lot of tournaments, that actually does end up being the case. There's just so many games to cover, and it's all crunched into one weekend, and everyone really wants to see the matches. So, yeah. I mean, generally, it's not quite 16. It's generally like closer to like maybe 12 to 13, 14, something like that. It's a lot, yeah. So I mean, it's always kind of funny, the things that people don't talk about at these tournaments that would be hard for a caster. People always talk about, you have to know the matchups, you have to do research on the players. I mean, for me, I have to drink a lot of honey tea, but like several days before the matches, I have to make sure I'm drinking water regularly. I have to make sure that my meals are being eaten regularly, because one of the actually hardest things for me as a caster is that it's very hard on my stomach at these events, because I'm drinking coffee to help me stay awake, and then I'm drinking a lot of liquids for my throat and to stay hydrated. And a lot of times I'll have to eat my meals a little bit quickly, so that way I can go back to doing the casting. And if for some reason a match goes longer, it's not like I can be in the middle of the match and be like, well, guys, I always eat my lunch at 12:30. I have to go. There's oftentimes
pause the game.
Yeah, like PP, and they like pause the game, and they're like, it appears there's a technical difficulty, and I'm like walking to get a sandwich, like it's that sort of thing that I'll like really hurts my stomach a lot. So in a lot of circumstances, like trying to make sure that the schedule is as aligned with what my body's comfortable with as possible, that really is really important.
Yeah, I bet that's stressful. But I got new respect now that I know your hours, because I mean, not only the games, but also when the games are not casted, there's technical issues or gamers are setting up. I mean, you talk for ages. I really don't know how.
Yeah. I mean, I always joke with Marcus, DJ Wheat, who does the co-commentary with me at MLGs, that like, it's important to have a lot of opinions on things that don't matter. Because then, like, look, while they're setting up, I just wanted to bring up the old board game Crossfire. Did you ever play that? And you're just like, oh, Crossfire. That game was bullshit, and we just like start having a conversation about it right there. Strong opinions about a game that most people only know via the commercial.
Yeah. So now, talking about tournaments. I got a few questions about the NASL.
Yeah.
First of all, who was your favorite co-caster? I mean, I love In Control. I'm a big fan of his, but who was your favorite co-caster?
I only actually got the chance to cast with Jeff and In Control, or Jeff and In Control. That's the same. Greetorp and In Control. I don't actually have too much of an opinion, to be honest. Like, it's hard to. I mean, because I get asked that question a lot, like, who's your favorite person to cast with? And, I mean, it's honestly like going to a different class in school, like a math class well, actually so some of you may dislike school. Let's do it with movies, like it's the difference between like a comedy movie and then a really fun sci-fi movie. They tap into different types of things. Like for instance with Greetorp is one of the only commentators who is as excited by the strategies as I am, because Greetorp is a huge hardcore player, and like we'll both just start getting giddy and high-fiving each other about the fact that someone's getting an upgrade 15 seconds earlier. She's like, wow, how did he get the research? That's so awesome. There's like not even a battle going on.
It does. I noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And likewise, like Jeff's really fun to joke around with, and at the same time, he also has that, like player's background, so he and I will both be like screaming. I will just say that it was incredibly fun to cast with Jeff and Greetorp there, because it really goes to show how like strong of casters they are. That it's like the first time I'd ever really casted with them in an environment like that, and it just felt really, really natural.
Yeah. It did. Well done to all of you, actually.
Thank you.
Now, talking about games, there was something that I didn't quite understand. I mean, I didn't understand the reasoning behind the choice, and that Morrow swapping to Terran to play versus July. I mean, why do you think he would do that? I didn't understand.
I actually sat down with Morrow before the finals and was talking to him about that, because a lot of people dislike that there's no differences. Okay, so I'm going to use the word imbalance, and everyone in the StarCraft community uses that to mean unfair, but I'm going to use it to mean big differences. Like one of the big imbalances is that the Zerg has faster units, and that Protoss and Terran have slower units. And I don't mean to say that that's unfair, it's just that that's the huge difference there. And because that is a fixed, innate difference between the races, that's always something that you can exploit. But in any mirror matchup, there's no imbalance. You have the exact same units. Sometimes it's difficult to perceive where the clear edge is. And often you'll see players recoil away from the typical strategies and try to find something different, If everyone's making the Roach Hydralisk mix in the matchup, some player will try to do a Spinecrawler Mutalisk mix just to be different, because by doing something different, he can have clearer edges. If both of them are making Roaches and Hydras, it can oftentimes be very difficult to sift through that extremely similar environment. So Morrow was saying that not a lot of top Zerg players like it, though. That it's less that there's huge similarities, but just very few players enjoy playing it out. And as a result, it's hard for him to get good practice partners. He has a number of practice partners in the other matchups. And also at the same time, he says it's very hard to get a good win rate in the matchup for him, because there's these extremely thin micro situations that happen in the early game with Zerglings and Banelings that can make it feel very volatile.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are players who have discovered incredible ways to be able to control those units properly seemingly every time. They don't shy away from the similarity. They just say, okay, we're doing the same thing, well, I'm going to do it better. Players like Sen who can do that good stuff. And even though Morrow, I think, is absolutely capable of being one of the best Zerg vs. Zergs, he just said that for his own enjoyment, he just wanted to play, Terran vs. Zerg. And it was really, the thing that struck me most when I had that conversation is that he touched briefly on how the matchup functioned itself, and then just said, but I really like Terran vs. Zerg. All the matchups feel so fun right now. I could just practice it for days. Like, I love playing like Terran vs. Zerg and Zerg vs. Terran and Zerg vs. Protoss. And that
did you actually practice that, or was it just for the?
Oh yeah. Morrow is a beast when it comes to playing long hours. That's one of the reasons that Morrow's always one of the top Europeans, is that he's a training machine, and he's not scared to be a thinking player. A lot of times people will think up of a strategy but then say, no, I should do the quote-unquote standard stuff. Morrow drills out his own strategies in absolute brilliance. I mean, like, I have huge, massive respect for Morrow because he decided he wanted to play Terran. That's a very weird, I guess you could say, strategy to do, to just say, you know what, I'm just going to play this other race entirely. And then he just hardcore plays it for a month, and in a lot of tournaments you're seeing that Morrow is one of the strongest Terran Berserkers out there.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about winners a little.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments about the best of 7 match between Puma and MC?
OMC! Oh gosh, that just wounds my heart in that last game. Just like a couple of decisions that could have switched it back the other way. But I mean, honestly, one of the answers I always give whenever someone says, "Who's your favorite player?" Almost always my answer is, "Well, I don't really have favorite players. I just like watching players win. I just like seeing good strategies in action." So that's my honest favorite thing, is seeing like the best of the best doing really, really cool things in the game. So in that match, holy cow, did that deliver. I could not believe how much Puma seemed to be like riding along the razor's edge in those maps. Just like he had this army that could do so much damage, but if he miscontrolled it once, he would lose everything. But he just never seemed to. And MC's incredible ability to always hold on no matter what, I just couldn't believe that the game went all the way to 7 series. Or the series went all the way to 7 games. That was just so fun to watch.
It was epic. It really was. I mean, Puma deserved that win. I was rooting for MC, but Puma definitely deserved that win, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like, he was, I think, the best player in the tournament.
Yeah, he was. Now, NASL received a lot of positive responses, but also criticism. So, if you were the producer, what would you have changed?
I mean, there's honestly the thing that I said to the NASL folks, like day one when there were some technical difficulties, is it wouldn't be a tournament without something going catastrophically wrong. You know, there's. Like, that's just the way of the tournament. Like, there's almost... I don't think I've ever been to a tournament where something, like, really weird hasn't happened. I mean, like, sometimes it's... The spectators don't actually get to see what the struggle was. But, you know, sometimes there's, you know, a player who's from another country who messed up on the time zone change. So he's just nowhere to be found. So, you know, like, we're sitting there riffing and they, like, can't find a player. You know, this has happened in tournaments before.
Yeah.
I mean, for NASL, I feel like things went a little bumpy at the start because of the standard tournament problems. Like, for instance, the doors were supposed to open at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. on Friday when it was going to begin. And I think it was at, like, 9:48. All the projectors just broke.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they'd tested it, and it looked incredible. I, like, showed up early, and there's just these giant HD images on the screen. I'm like, yes, it's going to be awesome. And then just turn off. And everyone's like, well, let's get more projectors in, you know? So they're just, like, spamming as fast as they could. I mean, like, to try to get these set up. So, I mean, I think NASL has a good grip on it. I think they're going to get, like, a couple more people next time.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that, you know, it can be a little less frantic. Because, I mean, stuff's just going to go wrong. And I think that it's important just to be like, well, you know what, it's going wrong, whatever, it'll be fine. Because you'll note that, like, day one, everyone was just, like, ready to get out their pitchforks. Oh, my God, NASL, I'm going to sue them to get my money back. And then, like, 36 hours later, it's just like, NASL's the best tournament ever, oh, my God, like, where do I donate? So...
Yeah, I think it was epic. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am a big fan of the NASL.
Yeah.
I thought it was great finals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got a couple more questions about you before we end this.
Yeah.
Now, you did mention the Day 9 Daily earlier.
Yeah.
To help us nudes and OODs to become better players.
Yes.
Is there anything else you would like to add? What exactly do you do? I mean, we mentioned the Fun Day Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
mean, like, so the Day 9 Daily began sort of as like a personal thing that I just thought would be kind of fun to do because there really were not that many people who were doing any sort of like high level analysis. There were people who played a lot who were lower league players in Brood War who would be giving some feedback. But, you know, in a lot of sense, it was this sort of flawed uh, comments of inexperience and stuff, and none of like the people who'd played competitively were actually like sitting down and elucidating. So that was like also a big motivator. But something that I've always just sort of held to be really important is just how much fun playing games competitively can be.
yeah,
And I mean less about the winning, actually very little about the winning, but more about how fun it is to do problem solving, how fun it is to have something go wrong and to try to think, how do I fix it? And when you find a solution and you win, it's only your fault. You know, it's not like the math test where you don't really understand what the heck's going on, but the teacher just said, look, this is what's going to be on the math test. And you were like, okay. And then you studied it and wrote down the process and got an A, and then it leaked all out of your brain. And then it turns out everyone else got an A too. There's like no objective measure if you're actually getting what's going on. But in competitive gaming, it's only ever your fault if you win. It's not from any other circumstance than that.
yeah,
So I just love that so much in terms of the reward. And also it's this really fun social experience. I've met so many people and interacted with so many people. Like I still remember when I had a Brazilian friend and a Russian friend, and none of us spoke each other's language, but we'd still play for hours together because we could communicate through this game. So I've always just found that to be very important. So the last thing that I need to add in before I talk about daily is that for a lot of reasons, many just view games as an inherently difficult thing. Which in my eyes, I guess makes sense because if you look at like a modern day controller, if you've never played games and you just look at a controller, there's so many buttons, there's like 3 directional pads. It's this impossible to step into sort of thing. And it's kind of funny, you'll note that language that's used, casual game, casual games like what PopCap or Zynga makes, it honestly makes no sense to use the word casual game because a game is just an interactive fun thing. But they've introduced an entire genre to explicitly let people know you shouldn't be intimidated by this because that's how scary a lot of modern games can feel to people. So all the fun I've had and all the seeming difficulty that people have had entering into the games, I feel like one of my driving goals with the daily is to just make competitive gaming more accessible, to have some sort of step in, some sort of lead in, because regardless of whatever content I'm pushing out, a lot of people just pick up on the fact that I'm having a lot of fun talking about it. And there's the explicit fun content, like the Fun Day Monday, which is where I put out a ridiculous constraint for people to play under. Like, for instance, you know, a couple weeks ago it was play without using your keyboard, do your mouse only, play one-handed. And people were having these ridiculous problems, but then all of a sudden it would force them to try to be creative under these constraints that they were put into. And there's a lot of fun that can be had, but interestingly, a lot of learning. And then at the same time, you know, there's the other shows that are like hardcore in-depth analysis, which help a lot of Master League players, you know, really step their game up or really try to help people get into those top Master Leagues. And even for the people who are lower level, it can help them watch a pro match and appreciate more the intensity and the difficulty of these situations the pros will find themselves in. And then there's, you know, even things like Newbie Tuesday, which can be a topic for someone who doesn't really play that much, maybe plays 3v3s with friends and who wants to step into 1v1 that they can have some sort of starting point to. So, I mean, all my content always has that goal of how do I get people to be more into this and most importantly to have more fun with this. So I really firmly believe that someday, hopefully in the near future, that esports will be something that everyone will be talking about and everyone will want to step into. And it's something that, like, households will just have as a primary form of entertainment.
I do have a little bit of criticism to make though.
Lay it
I
on
mean,
me.
I love you, man, but I'm Protoss, and you started the Protoss week with a Zerg T-shirt. I mean, that's what's going on there.
Oh man, you know it's so funny. For some reason, I have like 6 Zerg T-shirts, end to Terran, end to Protoss. I don't know how this happened, because it's not even like 6 variety Zerg T-shirts. It's literally like 6 of the exact same outfit, a bunch of times. So honestly, there was this one week where I was just like, I'm only wearing Zerg T-shirts, and I looked like a cartoon character. I'd wake up and be having the exact same outfit on. I even tried to like comb my hair the same. So I assure you that at least one day during Protoss week, I will have my Protoss T-shirt on to represent the pride.
Good, good. Now I hear you love Sen. Yeah.
I simultaneously love and hate him. We have a very tumultuous relationship.
Yeah. So anyways, if you people don't know what we're talking about, please go watch the Fun Monday number 322, right? I got that
That
right?
is correct. Recorded that one last evening. Yeah.
So, talking about dailies again, any replay, especially in Newbie Tuesday replay, that was submitted to you that made you really go, what is this guy doing? I can't believe what I'm seeing with my eyes, you know, anything.
Well, I mean, not... That has only ever happened in a positive way, because, I mean, honestly, I think someone asked me earlier, like, you know, I want to start playing StarCraft, but I don't know what I should do and all this stuff, and I remember I started to, you know, go through my usual day 9 thing where I was like, all right, look, you want to make sure you have, you know, a game plan, blah, 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 and one of my roommates just came up and said, look, the game's designed to be fun. Just mess around and have fun. And then after a while, you'll just figure out what kind of works and what doesn't, and then you can start really thinking about what your strategy is. First thing is to just make sure you have fun. And I was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's actually a lot better of a point. And like since that, you know, since that time, like I've you know, had a pretty big dramatic opinion shift in terms of like how to step in. And when you watch a lot of the newer players play, you see a lot of that come in. There's all, you know, the problems like, oh, he might not be playing quickly enough, he might be making some of the wrong units, but you can clearly see this theme of, oh, this unit is awesome, I'm going to make 50 of them. Especially the Thor, I think, is a popular unit. Oh, I'm going to mass that thing.
Void Race.
Oh my god, Void Race is the most massed unit in the game. So, I mean, and I honestly think that that is like the correct way to go about it for an intro to the game. But interestingly, there's just so often a player will do something that I'll kind of go, well, I've never seen anything like that. And I'll think about it and be like, man, if you actually refine that a little bit, that would be quite strong. And I've actually had some cool strategies pop out from weird, goofy things that have been performed by players who are honestly not very experienced at all and are actually doing things in a very fundamentally off fashion. But it's definitely cool to learn in that way. So I honestly make myself regularly tune into some of the non-featured streams on Team Liquid, the people who will have maybe 10 people viewing. There'll be some sort of Gold League player, because it's just incredible the amount of ways that you can pull this game off and still be successful.
Yeah, true. Now let's talk a little bit about your latest project, the After Hours Gaming League.
Yeah.
So what is that about? Tell us.
So the After Hours Gaming League is a StarCraft 2 team league that doesn't have the best StarCraft 2 teams in it, with all the pros in it. Instead, the teams are 8 top tech companies that are Amazon, Dropbox, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Twitter, Yelp, and Zynga. And
did you have that written somewhere, or did you remember them all?
I did it off the fly. I've done it so many times, and I'm pretty sure I actually did that in alphabetical order. Sometimes I met Microsoft, Facebook, Google; those get swapped around. But I always remember the Amazon Dropbox opening and the Twitter Yelp Zynga finish. But the goal was to present StarCraft 2 in a way as as being a legitimate, fun activity that is performed by what a real gamer is, which is a smart, successful professional, instead of this completely farcical view that's portrayed in a lot of media, which is this sort of sweaty man in a basement who's never talked to anyone ever. It's a chance for people to see that there's a lot of fun to be had and a lot of fun teamwork and a lot of morale building that can happen in the game. Because I love the idea that there's this, 12-year-old who plays a lot of video games and his mom doesn't quite get it, but he can say, "Look, Mom, look. Remember how you shop on Amazon? Well, all the people who made Amazon happen are playing in this league. And like how you take breaks at work and play Farmville? Well, the Zynga people are in this league. And Google, that you use every 20 minutes whenever you have a question and you want to Google it, they're playing in this league too." And it's a chance to legitimize and to provide an entry point for a lot of people who are maybe unfamiliar with it. Because there are so many amazing, amazing tournaments out there for the gaming crowd. Tournaments like NASL or MLG or GSL.
DreamHack as well.
Yeah. There are these amazing spectator events. And I want to do something that would be that would complement those, that would allow people to step in and to say, "Hey, this is pretty fun, seeing this team stuff." And then someone to go, "Man, you think these players are good? Watch Sen versus MC. Look at how good those players are. Check out the NASL semifinals or the NASL finals. Those were incredible games." So thus far, it's been a huge, it's been a bucket of fun. Because,
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, because, it's kind of funny because a lot of people have all these representations in their head of what these companies are like. Because when you hear Google, you just think about this ambiguous mass force that's on the internet and it's just sort of doing things. And then when you actually sit down with the Google people, they're just all friendly and goofy and fun, and they like games. And everyone from all the teams has been in conference calls with each other, laughing and joking. And in fact, a lot of the contact and outreach to grab new people and to bring them in was done cross-company. Like Facebook was like, "Oh man, we got some friends at Google that, heard that we did an event at Facebook and they kind of want to do a thing. Can I go talk to them?" I was like, "That would be great," and that was how the league got started. So the teams are, friendly within themselves, but also to each other. And it's just a fun experience to show, this game is a great, great way to have fun and to just engage in an intellectual activity that is at the same time fast-paced and intense. Yeah.
Yeah, because you do need to have some brain to play this game. You can't just...
Oh, yeah.
So, you cast, you host tournaments, you do your dailies. How about pro gaming? Any plans for pro gaming?
I want to start playing more, and honestly, a big personal push for me is to just do some schedule rearranging to try to give me the chance to play more, because honestly, I just really, really want to. And, whether I enter in any tournament or not and play it, I'm always satisfied with, the opportunity to, learn and improve. That's always my favorite. And again, I still have that goal that if I did improve and I did play well, I think it would be really fun to take the chance to say, "Hey, here's a show match I played, a best of 5 against some good player. Let's analyze it now that it's been played." And I can tell you after the fact what I was thinking at every point in time.
What do you mean after? Can't you just cast it while you're playing? I guess not, huh?
Oh, no, not in a million years. I actually can't even talk. I can't even read. If someone messages me in a game, it actually does not register. I have successfully learned how to block all that out and try to stay focused on the match, because there's so many things going on in the game at once that I don't want anything else crowding that out. There's a lot of people tend to think that the game is largely about hand speed, but it's actually more about brain speed.
Yeah.
Where there's tons of stuff going on at the same time, and you have to not only remember all of it constantly, go through like a little mental checklist, as I call it, just constantly re-review, re-review, re-review. Am I doing everything I need to do? Am I doing everything I need to do? But then all the variance comes in, like, oh, I spotted those couple of units. Now I have this new task that I need to accomplish, while also keeping in mind everything that's in my mental checklist, and how do I order all of that? So there's lots of, like in a battle, do I control my units to be a little stronger, or do I go back to my base and continue to build things and continue to start upgrades, so that way when my army dies, I'll have another bigger army ready to go out and fight. So there's tons of little micro decisions that you're trying to constantly rearrange, and if you can keep all of it in your head, your hands will naturally start playing much, much, much faster, because your whole body's just like frantically trying to accomplish everything that's sort of floating around in there. So,
Yeah.
So wow, I guess that's my long-winded tangent for, yeah, I'm really bad at talking in games. In fact, it's kind of funny, when I start talking in games, I mess up really badly. Like I will forget to build any units kind of badly, because I need that focus. Other players might be able to, but I certainly can't.
Well, I know. Well, I'm not really exactly a diamond player, but I also have a bit of a problem with hands myself, as in I might think to do something, but my hands can't catch up with it. I get that a lot. It's a bit the other way around as well for me. So, well, we are reaching the end of the interview, but before we finish, two things. First of all, how can people follow you on the net?
Yeah, you should check out my new website, day9.tv, that has a searchable list of all the videos that I've done. Also, check out the After Hours Gaming League at ahgl.tv or afterhoursgaming.tv. Now that I say that, I want to ahgl.tv. I'm pretty sure that goes through. Yes, ahgl.tv. And yeah, follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/day9tv. And that should be about it. I would most of all love it if you started playing StarCraft 2 and told all your friends how wonderful and fun it is.
So, anyone you want to give a shout out to or thanks before we end this?
I'd like to give a shout out to everyone who helps make Day9 TV possible, all the fine crew, because it's amazing how incredibly consistent and reliable everyone is. They just always hit the mark. So huge shout out to them, because even though I'm the public one that people see, the Day9 TV would be absolutely nothing without all their amazing help.
Well, thanks to you for doing the daily. And once
Thank
again, thanks for coming along.
Woo!
See you at next daily.
Cheers!